Hey guys, so we're on the trail here and just wrapped up the Ozark Trail series a couple weekends ago and just wanted to check in and say thank you so much for everybody that took the time to follow that, watch it, and to comment. Received a lot of really nice comments on that, so really do appreciate it. And just figured now that I've done the three trails down here, the long trails in our area, I'd go ahead and give you an overview on them. Some of you might know that these trails are referred to or being referred to now as the Triple O. I'm not exactly sure where this term originated or who started it, but I actually love it because we need some kind of hike here in the Midwest South area for people that cannot afford to do the long trails, and so I think this is really cool. Now, the Triple O consists of, you guessed it, three trails, and the first one being the Washita Trail, and then the Ozark Highlands Trail, and then the Ozark Trail. That's starting south, going north. And now I've done all three of these, except for I need to finish up 30 miles on the Washita, which is the only one that I've sectioned hike. I did through hike the other two. So anyway, I just thought I'd give you my quick overview of what I thought about these three trails. And so I'm going to go ahead and start out with the first trail that I hiked in November of 2015, and that is the 165 mile long Ozark Highlands Trail. Now, that starts in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and goes over to Woolham Ford, and is a very beautiful hike. And so I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about the water situation on that trail. Now, on the Ozark Highlands Trail, I had no problem finding water. I was able to carry about 2 liters most of the time, never really anymore. And I think maybe day 2 or 3, there was one point where I was a little low, but then I found it pretty quickly. So really had no issues at all with water on the Ozark Highlands Trail. Now, on the Washita Trail, I had a lot of difficulty with finding water. In fact, there was even a time where I cached water before I started the hike. So when I got to that area, there would be some water there. So there's a lot of long, dry stretches in the on the Washita Trail. Ozark Trail is kind of like the Ozark Highlands Trail with water. I also hiked that one in November of 2018. And same thing, carried about 2 liters of water the whole time. Just very easy to find water. So pretty easy on all the trails except the Washita Trail. That one was by far the most difficult for water. So let's move on to Resupply. Ozark Highlands Trail, kind of hard to get off the trail to resupply. You might remember I did the cache system there where I stashed food in the woods so I didn't have to leave the trail, and that worked out great for me, which I also did on the Ozark Trail. I did 3 drops on each trail. On the Ozark Highlands, I did them 45 miles apart, and on the Ozark, about 55 to 60 miles apart. On the Washita Trail, there's a couple of resupply points that I know of that are fairly easy. One is Queen Wilhelmina State Lodge, which is about, I don't know exactly, but I'll say roughly 50 miles in. And then another probably roughly 60, 70 miles from there, you have the Bluebell Cafe, where you can also jump off, and you can mail yourself packages there and resupply. The second half of the trail is probably a little harder, but I don't know as much about that. I haven't jumped off the trail there because I section hiked most of that and did it like in a 4-day hike. I was able to carry everything. As far as difficulty, I would say the Ozark Highlands Trail was really hard on my knees. I carried a lot of weight. That trail is a lot of up and down. So fairly difficult on that one. Same with the Washita Trail. I would say that is a difficult terrain, a lot of up and down, a lot of boulder fields, a lot of just walking on rocks. So those two very similar, I think, in terrain difficulty, but the Ozark Trail I felt was a little bit easier, laid out in a smoother way where you don't go straight up the mountain, over the top, down, up, down, up. You kind of skirt around the ridges, and it makes for easier walking. So let's see, Shuttles, Washita Trail is pretty easy. Lori at the Bluebell Cafe will shuttle anywhere on the trail. And I believe there's a couple other ones. It's a tad expensive. It's like $1 a mile, and that's round trip. So if it's 50 miles to come pick you up, then it's $100 because it's 50 miles to go back. So Ozark Highlands Trail, I caught a really easy shuttle out of Ozone from the store in Hagerville, which is donation based, and the donation is typically $30 each way to get down to Clarksville, which I thought was very reasonable and pretty cheap, pretty easy. Ozark Trail, I would think the shuttle system there is a little harder. It's also pretty expensive. I did some checking after I got back, and to take a shuttle from the south to the north was, I believe, $325. And so that is pretty expensive. If you could figure out a way to arrange a ride or someone to follow you and drop a car off, that'd be your best bet. Probably on any of these. I dropped my car off at the end of Ozark Highlands Trail, and then my girlfriend took me to the start. And, on the Ozark Trail, the XC Crow helped me get to the trailhead on that one. Now we'll talk about blazes and how well the trail is marked. I thought Ozark Highlands Trail was pretty easy. There's a few stretches in the Hurricane Creek Wilderness where it is not marked as well, but you can pretty much tell where you're going. Just really, really pay close attention when you're hiking through there, and you'll be okay. But the blazes do get kind of far apart, and you will wonder if you're still on trail. Washita Trail, I thought overall was very easy to follow. There's a few junctions where I got a little turned around, but I was able to find the trail really pretty easy on that trail when I would get turned around. Yeah, so both of those are pretty easy, and they also, the Ozark Highlands Trail and Washita have mile marks. Like, not every single mile, but almost, and so you know where you are almost all the time. So, jumping to the Ozark Trail, there are no mile marks, and you kind of have to guess where you are based on your maps, and I had the little mileage marker maps, and could kind of tell where I was, but I might have been off a few tenths of a mile here and there. I would say that it was really easy to follow once I got about a quarter or a third of the way into the trail, it became very easy to follow. Down in the south, in the beginning, it starts out pretty easy to follow, but you will come to junctions that are unmarked, and you will get off the trail, and you just have to figure it out. But not that hard. I got off a few times, and I did waste a lot of time, but like I said, once I got a little farther north, it was super easy. So all the trails overall pretty easy. You just have to pay attention. I got off trail on each one and always found my way back on. Campsite, shelters, things like that, tons of them on the Ozark Highlands Trail. Just came across them all the time, all day when I was walking, so really didn't have any issues there. Had to a couple times throw up a campsite because I walked too late. But very easy also on the Washita Trail. There were a few times again where it got late in the day and I'd be on the side of the ridge and I'd have to kind of improvise something, but that's just kind of my own fault. On the Ozark Trail, I saw far less established campsites. Not many firings, not near as many as I saw on the other two trails. So almost all of my campsites were improvised on that. There were a few that I saw mostly up on the cliffs above the river where there were some established campsites, but really not too many on the Ozark Trail. So overall, I'd say OHT easy, Washita Trail pretty easy, Ozark Trail, they're all kind of easy, just a little trickier on the Ozark Trail, I'd say. But still, you'll do fine. Weather, I can't really talk about a whole lot because I went in different times of the year. The Washita Trail I mostly did in November and March, and I did that. I section hiked that from March of 2016, and last time I went was in November of 2017, and I've done about 192 or 3 miles of that, and mostly the weather was pretty pleasant most of the time. It got cold here and there, but not too bad. Ozark Highlands Trail I did in early November, and it was pretty cold some nights, but overall I would say not too bad. I camped by water a lot, and that did make it colder, but overall not that bad. Now the Ozark Trail I did later in November, like November 10th through the 22nd or 3rd, and that was by far the coldest. I think had I done that trail first, I might not have made it. It was so cold that it was surprising to me that I was able to hike, sleep, and manage to do everything and still be okay, because it was definitely colder than anything I've ever experienced, where my water bottles and everything were freezing in the middle of the day while I was hiking. So definitely harder as far as the weather in November. And that's pretty much it. That's just a brief overview of all of these, and I'm sure there's a lot of other details I could go over, and maybe you'll have some questions that you'll want to ask me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, or give you any information if you're planning on doing one of these trails and you need any info. Just let me know, and I will be glad to share any info with you that I have. That's about it for that, and like I said, if you have any questions about any of these trails or anything that I've talked about here, just hit me up and I'll be glad to answer them for you, and I'll see you somewhere on the trail. Take care.